What's some of the things that you could tell us that you do remember with Sugar Shane?
Shane was, I don't even remember the move that he was trying to show me, but I felt, and I feel silly talking about it because in the moment, it was one of those things where I knew, as athletic as I am, I should be able to do this. And it doesn't look the way that he does it because he's been doing it forever. And I think I was kind of tricking myself out of it mentally, but I also just really felt like I felt silly in the moment trying to do something that I felt like he had mastered 10 times over and was trying to show me and just expecting me to do it. But one move he showed me that I really liked that I still use today, he was showing me how to throw a jab and kind of dip my shoulder down, dip my chin down under my jab and also bring my hand up. So sometimes you'll have a guy who you go jab for jab. So somebody, when they see you start the jab, they'll jab with you. I mean, you may get hit, you may not get hit. But he was showing me how to take my head off of the line so that the other person's jab goes across. And even if it doesn't, I've still got my hand up to block the jab if it were to get past the first defense that I have of getting off line. So I really like that move, and that's something I still use today. But
I think there was a fan question that was similar in the past, but how important is it as a fighter? Even obviously you were a world champion by the time you were getting that instruction from Shane. How important is it for a young fighter to learn from older fighters, and how important is you now maybe being more of a veteran in the game to give back to the young fighters, kind of just the exchange of information?
I think it's important. A lot of the information we get is all universal, just like the jab, just like the right hand. But then you'll have somebody call the right hand a brick. Nassim Richardson, he would call the right hand the brick hand. So he would say one brick, or he would say jab brick, double brick hand. So small little things like that make it a little different. But for the most part, it's everything that we learn is universal. However, there are some tricks to the trade that a veteran who's 35 has been through it all, amateur and pro, will know that the 25-year-old just doesn't know. So I think it's really important for Caleb to do what he's doing right now, to get some advice or get some motivation, everything that he's going to get from Dre. I know that you don't go spend a week with Andre Ward and not get anything from it, but I think that it's important for those guys who are older in the game to be willing to give that advice, to be willing to give those instructions, be willing to get picked up and train a guy and get paid for that training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think more than anything, be willing to give the information opposed to expecting something in return. I think that's kind of how this game is kind of molded from the coach teaching the fighter, then that fighter growing up teaching the next fighter, and that fighter growing, this lineage behind boxing that should always carry on, and it does because of things that Dre's like, because of like what Dre is doing now.
Yeah.
And I think also what's interesting about this going down with Caleb and Andre is Andre, I know he's good. He's good and retired, and he's, like you said, probably the best commentator in boxing right now. But I think he always wanted to fight Canelo, and that maybe that'll never happen. But it's just interesting. I don't think it's about him with helping Caleb or anything like that. But it is interesting that looks like that may probably never happen, and he always wanted it to. But now we're getting, in some way, Andre Ward a part of this Canelo stuff. So.
I mean, think about it. If he always wanted to fight Canelo, how much
studying him?
How much does he have in here
that
he was never able to get out himself? You know what I mean? Now he has an opportunity to give it to somebody else in hopes that he wins. You know what I mean? So I'm sure that Dre will be watching the fight with both eyes and ears open and open to anything that can happen in that night. I don't think he's going to be solely for Canelo because he wanted to fight. Solely for Caleb because he wanted to fight Canelo. Yeah. And he'll be expecting Caleb to do everything that he showed him or anything like that. I think he'll be an open book and ready for any possibility.
When Zytel was saying that, and then you kind of confirmed it, it reminds me when we talked about your Dennis Ugas fighting Pacquiao, that you always want to fight that guy. So if Dre all these years, whether it was something where I'm like, I really want to fight him, or you kind of think, it'd be a cool fight. Like you said with Maidana, like it was something that kind of would have been a fight that would have maybe happened. And so, yeah, Dre is able just to think of stuff over the years where he's like, yeah, I think that could work against Canelo. Or maybe, when Canelo does this, somebody could do this, whether it was him or Caleb. And they're not obviously that similar fighters, but both defensively sound, slick fighters. So I think the advice will be on the money.
What's up? I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Ant. Follow me on IG, Ant with 2 T's. Let's do it. Let's do it again.
All right. Just introduce yourself.
Okay.
And then you tell them what to do. I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Anthony Brenagh.
Carson A. Merk. Like, subscribe, comment.
This is the Porter Way.